Today I want to take a look at debugging AngularJS 1 using the F12 console and peeking into the view model. Frequently we're looking at the DOM, the display, HTML document object model, and we want to look at the JavaScript variables behind it that match into that display. So a lot of different ways of going about doing this. Put together a sample application with index and with app. We're going to go ahead and open that up with VS Code, take a peek. We got ng app and ng controller, to do app, to do controller. Over here we define them. So one way we can go about this is a global variable. Window.todo controller is a global, be available everywhere. That's an option. That's something that we could do to help debug our application. There are some other options, and we're going to take a look at one of those. So over here on our console, we're going to type light-server. That starts a localhost web server, port 3000 in the current working folder. You can see our Angular application up and running. As we check boxes, the remain is recalculating. We can do the X to delete something. We can do a new idea to add. A lot of cool stuff going on with the scope. So over here, you can do window.todo controller. And at that point, I can peek in here and I can see the 3 to-dos, including new idea, which we just added. And this global lets me look into the scope of the controller. Pretty cool. That's one way of doing things. And it's handy, but there's some problems with that. You really don't want to be playing in the global namespace because now no other application, other plugins and whatnot could use to-do controller. It's locked exclusively for this one particular app. So that has some drawbacks. It has some limitations on the support side. Another option I've learned about is the ability to peek with the DOM at a particular Angular element, and with no special plugins, we can come over to the console and type angular.element $0.scope open close. Angular element $0 scope open close. This will reference whatever you have selected and then echo back the scope for that object. It's contextual. It floats. It only lines up with what you currently have matched. So over here we have things matched in, and this is kind of boilerplate standard stuff. Wouldn't worry anything about the top part there. But Angular element $0.scope open close lets us peek into the scope. Now it gets more interesting. If you take your DOM selector and you pick something smaller, say one of these rows, this is an ng repeat, it has a variable letter t. That's not defined anywhere at the higher levels. That's only the current token iterator for the current ng repeat. Back over to console, execute the same thing, peek into the scope. Sure enough, we have variable t for that one particular row, a token variable that's not in the larger view model, because remember, this was scoped to the ng controller for the div, the parent. This is the ng repeat for a single row. You can use this Angular element $0 trick to look at any level of scope. So if you wanted to scope the entire app or scope a single row or something that's an ng repeat or an ng show hide, you click on the DOM, it shows you the scope, and there's no plugin required. Now there are some great plugins out there. Batarang is the big one, and those things are fantastic. If you're going to be working on this a lot, you probably want to check those out, give it a test drive, see how you like it. But if you need to debug and you don't have any plugins, you definitely want to memorize this guy right here, Angular element $0.scope. And just to make that extra visible, we'll come over here and zoom in. Namespace Angular, easy enough to remember. Element, okay. $0, little weird to remember. .scope, don't forget the open close. So those are the 3 pieces to remember. If you can memorize that code, then you can peek into the scope on anything just by pressing F12. Thanks for watching.